Welcome to 21st Sports Recap and Reaction for the New Orleans Saints at the Indianapolis Colts in their Week 7 matchup, played October 25th, 2015. We're going to go over the scores and the stats and give our breakdown and analysis. So starting off in the first quarter, deep into the first with only 2.5 minutes still left in the quarter, Kyrie Robinson would punch it in from a yard out, and with the extra point by Forbath, it was 7-0 New Orleans over Indianapolis. So that was the score after one. Then in the second quarter, Kyrie Robinson got his second touchdown run of the game just 4 seconds into the second quarter with a 6-yard touchdown run set up by an interception. And then Forbath added the extra point and it was 14-0. Then just a little over a minute later, after a fumble on the kickoff, it would give back the ball to New Orleans as Griff Whalen continues to be in the doghouse there in Indianapolis. He fumbles the kickoff. The Saints recover, and 3 plays later, Drew Brees hit Michael Humanawanui for a 16-yard touchdown. Forbath went for the extra point, but did not get it, and so it was 20-0 Saints over the Colts. So that would be the score at halftime, although they scored that touchdown with still about 13.5 minutes left in the first half. But it was 20-0 coming out of the locker rooms in halftime, and a little over 4.5 minutes into the second half in the third quarter, Mark Ingram scored on a 1-yard touchdown run. The extra point by Forbath was good, and so it was 27-0 Saints over the Colts. So the Saints in control with the big lead, but then here come the Colts as they mounted their comeback. Is with less than 4 minutes in the third quarter, Andrew Luck airs it out for T.Y. Hilton, who goes 87 yards for the touchdown to put the Colts on the board with their first points of the game. Vinatieri hit the extra point, and it was now a 20-point game with the score New Orleans 27, Indianapolis 7. Then with just a second left, still in the third, Luck airs it out for T.Y. again, this time a 46-yard touchdown. And with the extra point by Vinatieri, it was 27-14 as the Colts trailed by 2 scores, down by 13 points after 3 quarters of play. So then in the fourth quarter, with about 3 minutes left in the game, Andrew Luck throws his third touchdown pass of the second half and of the game. This one to Dante Moncrief, an 8-yard touchdown. Vinatieri adds the extra point, and it was a 6-point game with the score New Orleans 27, Indianapolis 21. So the Colts would go for an onside kick. They would not recover as the Saints get the ball back, so they had the ball on their own 47. They would end up faced with a 3rd and 4, and they would end up converting with a 20-yard pass on 3rd and 4 from Drew Brees to Colston, and that would bring the game to the 2-minute warning, and that would seal it, as all that was left to do coming out of the 2-minute warning was for Drew Brees to take 3 knees, and this game would come to a close as the Saints hold on to win this one 27-21 as they ward off the late comeback attempt by the Colts, as they were up 20-0 at halftime, and they were up 27-0 as they had scored 27 straight points before the Colts rallied to score 21 unanswered, but it would be too little, too late, as the Colts took too long to get going, and now both of these teams are at 3-4. The Saints at 3-4, they actually started 0-3 and are 3-1 in their last 4 games. They're 1-3 on the road, and for the Colts, they are 3-4, 1-3 at home. So the Colts struggling to win there at Lucas Oil in front of their hometown fans. As you know, they've got to be pretty disappointed with the last couple of weeks' outcomes from the Colts, as Pagano remains in the hot seat. Of course, Whalen with that fumble on the kickoff that led to a touchdown, as they actually had 14 points scored by the Saints off of turnovers, from turnovers resulting into scores, as one of the interceptions looked through, and of course that fumble as well. And in this game, Drew Brees, 28 for 44, 255 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And for Andrew Luck, he was 23 for 44, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. as it was like a tale of two halves for Luck, as he struggled early on in the first half, but then in the second half, he got things going, but it was too little too late at that point. And on the ground, Mark Ingram with a big day, as he was just running all over Indianapolis' defense. 14 carries for 143 yards, including a touchdown. He also had a 44-yard run in this game. And then Kyrie Robinson, 14 carries for 28 yards. Same amount of carries, not quite as much the production in the yard department, although he did have 2 rushing touchdowns in this game for Robinson. He also had 1 reception for 3 yards, giving him 31 total yards in the game. And for that matter, Ingram had 2 receptions for 5 yards, which gave him 148 total yards on the game. The leading rusher for the Colts was Frank Gore with just 9 carries for 43 yards. Andrew Luck had 3 carries for 27 yards. The leading receiver was T.Y. Hilton with 4 receptions for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. See, those 2 big touchdowns, the 87-yard touchdown and the 46-yard touchdown. Colby Fleener with 3 receptions for 47 yards. And for the Saints, Brandon Cooks, 6 receptions for 81 yards. The tight end Ben Watson, 4 receptions for 59 yards. The running backs, E.J. Spiller, 6 receptions for 32 yards. And of course, the tight end Humano Wanui, 5 receptions for 31 yards and that touchdown. And then we look at the kickers. Vinatieri, 3 for 3 on the extra points. And Forbath, 3 for 4 on the extra points. Neither kicker attempting a field goal in this game. And for the Saints, Anthony had an interception, as did Wilson. Jenkins and Richardson each had a half a sack, and Cameron Jordan had 2 sacks. Vaccaro had 1 sack, all for the Saints. And for the Colts, Langford and Mathis each had a sack, and Davis had an interception. Toller had a forced fumble. We look at the team stats. 22 first downs for the Saints, 15 first downs for the Colts. On third downs, the Saints 7 for 20, 35% conversion rate. They went for it once on fourth down. They did convert. And the Colts just 3 for 13 on third downs, converting only 23%. Total net yards, 449 for New Orleans, 376 for Indianapolis. On the ground, the Saints netted 183 rushing yards, just 75 netted for the Colts. And through the air, 301 for the Colts netted. Luck sacked 4 times for a loss of 32 yards. And for the Saints, they netted 266 as Breeze was sacked twice for a loss of 14 yards. Then we look at the penalties. The Saints were racking up those penalties, which allowed the Colts to climb back into this one, even though at the end they fell short. But 12 penalties against the Saints for 100 penalty yards. And for the Colts, 7 penalties for 42 yards. 3 fumbles for the Colts, although they just lost 1. The Saints fumbled once, but they did not lose that fumble. And in the red zone, the Saints were having a lot of success. They were 4 for 5 in the red zone, 80% of their red zone trips resulting in touchdowns. And for the Colts, just 1 for 2, just 50%, as they were struggling to get into the red zone in this game. And the Saints, 38 minutes and 23 seconds of possession, just 21 minutes and 37 seconds for the Colts, as they just kept pounding the rock. They're getting a lot of production from Ingram, as he was just running all over him with ease, as he averaged over 10 yards per carry in this game. And so the Saints jumping out to that big lead early on. The Colts, it's kind of the same old Colts. You know, they take their time getting into games. For some reason, it seems like when they start the game off, they're like just taking a nap, and then eventually they wake up and they're like, oh, geez, we're down by a lot. Now it's time, maybe we should start playing. And then when they're down, and then they just start airing it out. And Andrew Luck can air it out with the best of them. You know, he had those big touchdown passes to T.Y., that 87-yarder, that 46-yarder, and then even a third touchdown pass in the fourth quarter. But then when you have to rely on recovering an onside kick, well, that's not something that's going to be consistent. You're not going to necessarily be recovering those And the thing of it is we saw that they've been struggling to recover onside kicks in the past couple weeks. And like I said, that's a tough thing to do anyway. If you put your team in that position where you need an onside kick to be able to win a game, well, you've already lost the game most times. Well, I guess I could say 9 out of 10 times, but that's just throwing a number off the top of my head. But yeah, the Colts, continue to struggle. But even with their struggles, they're still in first place in the worst division in football, the AFC South, where every team in that division is really underperforming their potential and their talent on their rosters. But so it's not really a big loss for the Colts, as they're still in the driver's seat in their division. They just need to, get something going before the playoffs approach, because they'll be making a quick exit if they continue to play the way they are playing, even though they do seem to have that division well in hand. Although you never know what team might come up and possibly take it from them. But with Tennessee, Jacksonville, and Houston, the way they're playing, of course Jacksonville did get a big win over across the pond in London. Maybe they might come up. They're only, a game back, 1.5 back at 2-5. But, actually, no, that's a game back at 1. So they're a game back. Maybe Jacksonville gives them a run for their money. There's plenty of football left to play, so it could be it's wide open there in the South. But the Colts, if they keep playing like this, they might just play their way out of that division title that they've had a pretty firm grasp on in the recent years. And of course the Saints, an interesting team that, they started off playing so bad in those first 3 games, but now 3-1 in their last 4 games, as they're starting to play like a whole different team. Their defense seems to have established itself and its identity, as they have been getting after the quarterbacks in the last couple weeks, bringing the pressure. And of course Cameron Jordan playing at a really high level. So let me know what you think in the comments section below. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It's greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good day and had a great weekend and enjoyed all the sports.